Your turn.
What a get. 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 This is amazing right here.
Pinch. Are hot right now. What do you think? You're good to go.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in on a very special edition of the Sudsy Monchik Athlete Page. I'm joined this morning, as you can see here, by USAR Executive Director Mike Grisz and Sudsy Monchik. Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning. Thank you, Leo. Glad to be here.
Good morning, Leo. We got my good buddy Mike Grisz in the hot seat this morning.
Yep. By the way, Leo, you've already made a mistake. It's not USAR. As I say to everybody, it's USA Racquetball.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, USA Racketball, which is always important. You know, it's, you know, you guys know we believe in that. You know, one of Sudsy's taglines and everything he posts is, you know, we are Racketball. So thank you, Mike, USA Racketball Executive Director. Mike, we've got you here today to ask you some questions. And you've always said that you're willing to be as transparent as you can. I mean, you know, I'm sure there's some things that are confidential until they need to come out, but hopefully today, you know, we can ask you some questions and you can give us some answers.
Fire away. I'm ready.
Let me start, Leo. You know, Mike, you took over, just give everyone a brief history of when you took over as executive director, what year, and what it's really been like for you and Karen as the executive director.
Okay. It was September of 2022. The U.S. Open was coming up. Karen and I were going and did run the tournament desk at the Open, at the University of Minnesota at least. 2 weeks before the tournament, Mike Waddell resigned, and it became readily apparent that, first of all, we were going to lose money at the Open, although the amount of money that we lost at the Open at that time was not apparent. It was frightfully apparent a few weeks later. And it also became apparent that the successor to Mike Waddell was not going to be able to be compensated. This was going to have to be a voluntary position. You kind of look around, and at the time, I didn't see anybody else racquetball has been a huge part of my life. I've been involved in racquetball for 50 years. I've been trying to give back. So I said, okay, I will take this. Karen kind of came along somewhat reluctantly, but she's been fully on board and been very helpful to me as well. So
What does I take this mean, Grisz?
What?
Expand on it. I'll take this. Expand on that. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, at the time,
No compensation.
no compensation.
No benefits.
Yes, and yes, and basically a full-time job. I've had the job now for nearly 2 years.
More than a full-time job.
And it is at least an average of 50 hours a week. I pay my way, Karen and I pay our expenses to all events. And that has helped us to a point that we're kind of treading water to a little bit better than that. When I took the organization over in September of 2022, there was great danger that we weren't going to be around for 2 or 3 more months. Thankfully, I had a number of people that contributed money. Karen and I did as well. And we cleared our bills. And that's what we needed to do. We had.
Can you share any of those numbers?
Sure. No. We hadn't paid for Texas A&M, and that was $39,000. We hadn't paid the club fees for University of Minnesota, which was about the same, $40,000.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, the U.S. Open in 2022 was a little mismanaged.
You're being gentle, aren't you?
From a fiscal point of view, and it put us in trouble.
Let me touch on that, because I know, and if I speak out of school, I understand. I understand that there's a budget that is presented, right? Because the U.S. Open is obviously the crown jewel of racquetball. It's the most successful event, or call it thing, or asset that we've had in a sport for my career, my lifetime. My understanding, the way the U.S. Open works, is a budget is presented, a P&L of what we think we're going to either profit or loss. You touched on it. I guess it was not very accurate.
No, and
put that closer.
No, I'm trying to be gentle.
You don't have to be. No, the people want you to be honest and transparent.
It had been run for years by Doug Gannum, and Doug had basically did a full-time job on the U.S. Open in of itself, and that's the way it needed to be. The predecessor administration that we had at USA Racquetball kind of was treating it like just another event, and the U.S. Open was just not another event, and in fact, that gets to be an issue. You need serious sponsorship. And let's face it, the Doug Gannum Opens are a very high bar. And trying to do something similar to that for right now just isn't possible for USA Racquetball. And I'm not sure it's possible for anybody. For one thing,
What's not possible for anybody?
Well, I mean, if you remember the Doug Gannum Open, you had a wonderful facility in the Target Center at Minneapolis, and you don't have that facility anymore. So you had the exhibition court, you had that huge area, staging area behind it, and then you had courts there, Player Village, and that isn't available anymore. We don't have place to have an event that has that many courts and other courts that are that close. And the other thing is Doug had a really good sponsorship deal with United Healthcare, and Doug told me himself that it would be very difficult to replicate something like that. And
so U.S. Open, jump right to it. We don't see it happening anytime soon.
I'd love it to. It would be very difficult.
What's the biggest? Is it the financial challenge, or is it the facilities challenge?
It's both. The facilities challenge. Tell me where we would have a U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually talking to somebody next week about possibilities for 25. But I mean, I think any discussions like that are still far-fetched.
Sure.
The other, I mean, if you look, USA Racquetball did what I think was a very, very good job with National Indoor this year, the one in Arizona, which, by the way, we lost half the courts there, so we can't go back there. But,
Grisz, what do you say, though, to people when they hear that? They don't know the inside. So what can you say to people when they say, oh, they're losing courts in Arizona, and now they're not going to have the national doubles there anymore? What's going on? What can you tell them?
I can tell them we will look for new facilities. And that's, I mean, cutting to the chase, racquetball is a tough sell right now. It's in a tough go. National events, and we run 4 national events, national indoor, which is a combination of singles, doubles, and adult team qualifying, which, like I was trying to say, for when we did this February, we knocked it out of the park. We were ahead the whole time. People were happy, and we had no hospitality, and we made a little bit of money. Not a lot, but we made a little bit of money. We had increased participation. We had 370 there, and in fact, we had the increased participation in all 4 of our events, not only indoor, but high school, collegiate, and juniors all had higher participation than the previous year. Okay, next year. Indoor is going to be in Pleasanton. A little bit more difficult to get to, but still, we got to support it. That's singles, doubles, adult team qualifying again.
And you have the courts.
And we have one facility at Pleasanton, and then we're going to have another facility which is probably 10 or 15 minutes away. So we can do it. It's doable. But if you look at an open, you've got not only 350 amateur players or whatever the amount is, you have both pro tours. They take a lot of time. And oh, by the way, I have to drop $80,000 on the pro tours. I love the pro tours. I'm not excited about us being another tour event, having the U.S. Open as another tour event. I understand the importance of the Open. We can't do it and bankrupt USA Racquetball.
Mike, Brian O'Melian wants to know, you said, why isn't the Target Lifetime Center available?
I don't even know that they have the courts. My understanding, I'm not even sure that facility even exists, and I may be wrong, but I've heard different things about it. The other thing I heard was at the 21 Open that there might have been some bridges burned, the last Ganem Open, but I don't know that for sure. All I know is that's really not available. The other problem is, and to be frank, is downtown Minneapolis. Right now, downtown Minneapolis is not the place that I would want to have a racquetball tournament. When we were doing it at University of Minnesota, that's 1.5 miles away. You've got hotels that are very close, walking distance. So it's a much safer environment that way. The problem was at University of Minnesota that they took out some of the courts that we really needed there. So it's not a big enough facility for an Open or to have the prime place for an Open.
Do they give you a reason when they take the courts out? Because that's what people want to know. And also, did ASU give you a reason when they took the courts out? Because people want to blame somebody. They want to first blame
That's a good point.
USA Racquetball. They want to blame Racquetball. But so what about first with Minnesota, and then what about ASU?
Well, they didn't give us a reason, but I will tell you the answer, and this is, it applies to Minneapolis, it applies to Arizona State, and it applies to every court that's out there that belongs to a club, that's in a club, at LA Fitness, wherever. And that is when they walk in, when the facility owners walk in at 3 p.m. and see nobody playing racquetball, and they see the weight rooms being fully utilized, then they're going to, and the weight rooms are crowded, that they're going to make room and put other things where the courts are.
Is it true at ASU? I heard that they were going to put golf training facilities.
That I don't know. I mean, I know that
Probably just a rumor.
Well, but what they said, they were they're repositioning. To them, Arizona State says we only need 7 courts. We don't need 12 courts because we don't use 12 courts all the time.
I heard the rumor at Minnesota was weight room.
And that's right, that's exactly right. Yes, that's what I heard too, but regardless,
There's nothing you can do to
there's
change
no,
that.
there's no,
So on that, because you both know me very well, right? I'm not there's nothing we could do, or this is impossible. You know, there was a follow-up question with, how do we not know what's going on with the courts? Somebody has to know, right? I mean, shouldn't we have somebody that says, are those courts available? Are they there? Is it an option? Whether it's downtown Minneapolis or anywhere. Is that or is it just something? Listen, we're spending a little bit too much time on the U.S. Open right now because I think there's other factors, other things we need to discuss. But is there someone that is reaching out? I've told you this story, which really left a mark for me, was when I was speaking with somebody at USA Racquetball, and it wasn't Mike. And I asked them, do you know who the director for LA Fitness nationally is? And the person said, no. And that I knew. I called the person and had a discussion with the person, but that really stung me. So here's my question for everyone, because this is what people want to know. What is the purpose, in your words? You have the experience now better than anyone. You're not getting paid. You have no other motives. You're one of the biggest, if not biggest, financial donor, which a lot of people don't know, that Mike and Karen give their own money. What does USA Racquetball do? Do we just run events? Are we here to tell me, because you and I had this conversation offline. Tell them, why do we need USA Racquetball?
well, that's settle down. This is a long answer. We have two sets of deliverables. The first set is the national events. We have 4 of them now because we do not have an open currently. National Indoor, High School Nationals, Intercollegiate Nationals, and Junior Nationals. 3 of those 4, by the way, are next generation events. So, I mean, to me, that's extremely, extremely important that we keep running those events. And, you know, I've played national singles, national doubles for years and years and years. And I think that the core base, which I know is still important to the core base, wants to have that tournament and wants to be able to go and play on a national level. So that's the first deliverable, is the national events. We can't lose those national events, in my opinion. The second deliverable is the U.S. teams. I think that having a a U.S. adult team that competes on an international level at the IRF World Championships, which is coming up next month in August, at the World Games next year in China, at every year they have the Pan American Racquetball Championships. I think that's an important thing. It gives the sport credibility. If you don't have that, if we lose that, that's one less thing we have out there. I think the fact that we won a gold medal at the Pan Am Games in 2023 was an extremely important thing for racquetball. If we decided to say, it's not important for USA Racquetball, let's just not worry about the teams, because the teams are a net expense. They are not a revenue generator, they are an expense. But if we decide not to do that, the U.S. no longer plays in that. That hurts racquetball at Bolivia and Ecuador and Mexico, because having the United States in those events is important to racquetball.
And they say that too, by the way. The other countries, you know, Veronica tells me all the time, she says if USA Racquetball's not there, regardless of the results, she says it matters.
Yeah.
But the Olympics have begun. I was the little boy. I was a 7, 8-year-old kid chasing that dream. I believed in it for decades. I understand there's so much out there as to why we are or why we aren't. So a couple of questions. Number 1, will we ever be in the Olympics?
No.
No. Okay, thank you for that. Is it something we need to stop chasing and putting time and resources and money? I agree with you. You agree? Into, and then if that's the case, how does that tie USA Racquetball into it? Because perception is, outside of our little world, the first question always is, oh, are you an Olympic sport? which would then generate revenue and interest and excitement, right? We
Right.
see all the celebrities and all the billionaires.
Right.
All they care about is the Olympics.
Right.
Is it something we should reconsider?
No, not unless you get racquetball being played in a lot more countries.
Are you chasing an Olympic dream?
No, I haven't
Because
spent,
people think that USA Racquetball
I haven't
is-
spent 1 minute on it. I am concerned that we remain a Pan Am sport. And I think we will, because most of the countries that are in the Pan Am Games play racquetball.
Sure.
All right, so I mean, we have a good possibility to remain a Pan Am sport in Peru in 2027, but that's a concern. It's a big deal that, and we're going back to the question of why is USA Racquetball important, and I want to say a few more things about that.
Sure.
First, we are the national governing body under the USOPC. That is another big deal. We're under the umbrella of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. Even though we're not an Olympic sport, we're a Pan Am sport. That's important for two reasons initially. One is credibility. Again, more credibility. We want racquetball to have credibility. I don't want to be handball and just be handball. I want to have the credibility of being part of that community. The other thing is financial. I get $100,000 approximately of grants from the USOPC each year.
100,000?
Approximately,
Okay.
and that is extremely valuable. We have one employee. His salary, Jonathan, who anybody who's on this call has ever talked to, anybody at USA Racquetball has dealt with Jonathan Greenberg, who is extremely good, but his salary is basically paid for by a grant, okay? So I have no net expense, which, by the way, is a big deal from difference between us and USA Racquetball of pre-COVID and actually most of COVID, unfortunately, is that our salary expense went from about $225,000 a year salary and benefits to about $50,000, okay? And that saves a lot of money to do that and allows us to do other things. So what else though? I mean, I ask myself the question all the time, what can USA Racquetball do? What is our purpose? Why, membership, most people pay membership fees as a tournament license. What else is a compelling reason to pay your membership fees? And I think
How many members are there right now active?
About 5,000. Okay. But we need more members. We need the people. If you're on this, listening to this, and you're not a member and you play racquetball, I mean, $65 a year. Come on. And why? Because it's the best, biggest racquetball community that we have. All right, and we need to all pull together. We need to build a community that we all partake in. USA Racquetball, I mean, there's no hidden agendas. Some of the stuff I see on the internet is amazing to me.
Misinformation.
Well, I mean, and I get the somewhat checkered past of USA Racquetball. There's been lots of things that have happened.
That has nothing to do with you.
There's nothing to do with me. I've been.
Well, clear that up. If there's anything outstanding that
There's
anything that
nothing
jumps out.
there. I mean, I've been executive director for almost 2 years. I will be executive director through the end of this year. I'm the one in charge. I make the decisions, all right?
Were you in the red when you took over?
At blood red, absolutely. I mean,
Are you in the black now? Are you solvent? Is your organization solvent in a way?
yeah. I mean, we have the only liability we have is we have an EIDL loan, which is the loan that you got from COVID. We pay that back. We're paying that back on schedule. If you looked at assets less liabilities, when you put that on there, the answer is we're about even. But we paid it. But we're fine. We have cash. We have cash in the bank. We owe nobody else any money. Okay. And
You did that. That was all you. That was a big. That was. That was one of your big.
I cannot stand to owe money. When I got in there and I saw that, I said, WTF. And
Was that your biggest challenge when you stepped in?
yeah, that and just learning the game. When I took over, Mike had just left. Although I talked to him in detail probably the week after that I was in, and a little bit before and after that. So he was helpful in transition. But Renee left right away, and then Connor left a couple months after that. And basically, I had no institutional knowledge. All right. And
but you had a good supporting cast?
Well, no, I mean, that's the problem. Basically, we had to figure it out. And so now we do. We're strong. I have a lot of institutional knowledge. Jonathan Greenberg he might be 24 years old, but he's very good. Karen has a lot of knowledge. We're in good shape. What we need is, as we transition away from me, we need to, I'm still going to be involved as far as making sure that the institutional knowledge stays intact.
Talk about that, Mike, because that was a big part of this discussion.
Right.
You're leaving.
Right, at the end of the year.
You're at the end of the year. What's end of the year mean exactly?
December 31st.
December 31, Mike Grisz is out. He's resigning, stepping away, which...
Obviously, the board knows that.
Obviously, the board and the committees know it.
The board knows that.
So here's my question. What are they doing? And this is my fear. Everybody, our fear. The Doug Yanham fear. We all looked around and said, what are they going to do when Doug leaves? What are they going to do? What's the plan? Who's your successor?
Well, the successor is not, and it may be more than one successor. I mean, there may be a group. And, there are people, and the conversations are ongoing. I mean, and if someone's listening to this and they say, well, I want to do that. Hey, if you know my email, you know my phone number, give me a call, write me an email. It takes 2-3 things to do this job, if I sound like I'm patting myself on the back, I am.
You can, you can, be honest.
And I mean, you need to be a little smart, and I have a lot of business acumen. You need to have a huge passion for racquetball, because if you don't have a passion for racquetball, this job will drive you crazy. And the third thing you need, and which a lot of people have the first two things, the third thing people need is time. All right, you cannot have a full-time job and have kids at home and think that you're going to do this, because it really does take a lot of time. And it's not only the things that I wrote a memo that I gave to the board about what I do and what I've done, and it was 3 pages long, and which doesn't sound like much, but the problem is that it's a job that stays with you all the time, and I felt a lot of pressure, because I feel that USA Racquetball is extremely, extremely important for the sport. Sudsy and I have gone back and forth on this for 3 or 4 years, and by the way, I appreciate Sudsy and Leo for the fact that they tell me. I mean, and I want people to tell me what they think. Sudsy has never been short on telling me what to think. But we need somebody that has time and energy and passion, and they're smart and can be able to do with this. And you have to not only think about the things that you have to do to keep an NGB running under the USOPC, and the tournaments, and the team, and the memberships, and things, but you also have to have some forward thinking. And I'm not saying that I've done the greatest job in that. I've tried. We brought a consultant in that gave us a McKinsey-style report on racquetball and USA Racquetball.
Impressive. A little eye-opening and sad, but impressive.
It was, and
quite the analysis. Yeah.
But what we need to do now, the way I describe it is like after the first year, where we were hanging on, but still surviving. Then we get to a point where we're a little bit better off, and it's like coming out of a bomb shelter, and after, you know, the radiation has gone away, and you're looking around, and okay, what next? And we've been trying. That's the key right now. Is okay, what next? We've got to, you know, if I look at it, we've got to expand membership. I've got to figure out a way somehow to keep the members we have, get members back that no longer are members, but still play racquetball. And and everybody says, get the recreational player. I love it when people tell me, get the recreational player or get more junior programs or something. Actually, we're working on getting more junior programs. We've invested a bunch of money in. We're working in concert with Mini Athletics in this. I work very hard with a number of coaches, Fran Davis, Jim Winterton, Sandy Long, to help promote their programs. And that's the best way we can do. The money we spend on junior programs, on doing that study, it's all meant to try to position us for a future to do things, to move things ahead.
That sounds great and all, right? But let's be honest.
No, I am.
Where are the courts? We have no courts. So what are we doing to educate and help court owners like the one we're sitting in? They have 8 courts here at this famous glass court. What are we, or USA Racquetball, doing?
Not enough.
To help people say we need courts, to create that demand? I ran into it personally. We had 100 kids in Vero Beach, and then we had no courts.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a good. And let's be honest. Everybody who's listening to this, I would presume, are racquetball players and passionate about racquetball.
well, Elon Musk is watching too, I found out.
Okay, well, Elon, if you could give us some pocket change, I think that would change things.
No, I actually already remember served up, and you were pissed about that. I served up someone for the board, and but it didn't happen. But we won't get into that.
All right.
Here's a question. I have a question before we get into that. I'm outwardly spoken about boards and committees. They're very important. Volunteers are important. We love them all. We're volunteers on many levels. Do you think that holds you back, or whoever may come next, having boards and committees to report to? You both have sat on these boards for the sport to actually, at this point, survive. Let's be honest, right? Do you think it holds us back a little bit?
No.
Okay.
Because in the almost 2 years that I've done this, although I tell the board what I'm doing, I do it. I have recommended to the people that are looking for my successor, the board, that you can have a group of 3 or 4, but you have to have someone who's going to say, I'm in charge. And that's, you're still,
But under the structure, is that passable?
Yes, but you have to have a board. If we're going to stay in part of the USOPC,
Right.
you have to
Of
have
course,
a board.
you have to. You require. I understand the
We
requirements.
have to have.
But what if? Because you hear this too. Blow it up. How many times have we been asked? Let's start a new association. I have zero desire. I don't think that's the right way.
And you would start and make the same organization. What are you people thinking?
No. Well, that's my question. If it wasn't a new organization, right? Nobody wants to compete with USA Racquetball. I'm the first one to say that's a bad idea. But is there a way that it can be structured differently, where, like a Doug Ganem US Open, where he had USA Racquetball owned it, but he did it his way. Nobody questioned him. Nobody did. He did it how he wanted, and it was a success.
You always
Can it
have,
be done like that at USA Racquetball?
No. You
Okay.
always have, first of all, not under the auspices of USOPC.
Understood.
Right. That's number one. But number two, whether it's me, whether it's you, whatever, you need to have accountability to somebody besides just the general membership and everything. You need to have accountability to the board. So I do have accountability to the board. I've made the decisions, and I'm always right. So I mean, that becomes really easy.
That's funny. Veronica tells me that too.
Yeah, well, tells you you're always right. Or
She's always right.
Yeah, I am. But
have to operate under a set of bylaws, you know, and that's the basis of your business. The foundation is your bylaws, and then your bylaws, your board of directors, and then your board of directors.
I understand all that. I just think, you know, watching the decades of demise, when people ask me and we talk, I think it does need to be run a little bit differently. I know some very successful and this is why, and I understand the tie-in to USOPC, which is what a lot of the players and community don't understand. We have to have a board, we have to have a committee. And that's where I then say, okay, so what's causing us to have to do that? It's our relationship with USOPC.
Well, but
that's
the
question.
But that's always, it's good business practices too, Suds. You and I have disagreed for this for 3 years, and it's good business practice to have that. You know, but you skirt around probably the main issue, which is an issue that is always uncomfortable to talk about, but the viability of racquetball as a business model to begin with.
Sure.
You know, I mean, you sit here on this court, we're on this court, and it takes up a lot of space, and it took a lot of money to build.
Sure.
Okay? The most people you can have in this space at one time is 4. All right? And again, you know, you look at, I walk into an LA Fitness sometimes at 4 o'clock. So I'm coming in, and I'm going to play on Monday night.
And Mike pretty much plays every day, by the way. For those of you that don't, he's always on a racquetball court, indoor or outdoor.
Well, but not so well anymore.
Decorated champion, and by the way, check out his medal count. And he's in the finals against Ruben Gonzalez.
Not that I'm not in the finals. No.
Semis?
No.
The pool play.
It's a pool play.
Oh,
it's a pool play match, and I'm not in the top 3, unfortunately.
Really? We'll get back to that. I thought you were.
Now you're
I know, I took you off.
Destroying my train of thought.
I want
racquetball. But so I walk in to an LA Fitness at 4 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock the courts are going to be mostly full. But at 4 o'clock I walk in there, and there's 5 courts and nobody's on them. So you figure out for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 hours there hasn't been a lot of people playing racquetball. That's one thing. We got to get where we have courts. We got to figure out a way to get more players. And because that's how you lose courts. If the courts were full all the time, you wouldn't be taking them out. All right. I mean, this facility, Glass Court, is a racquetball facility. It's an old-time racquetball facility. Those things are hard to find anymore, and the new ones aren't getting built. You know what? And I haven't done a great job of this, but what needs to be done is to find where the courts are and figure out a way to help those courts do some sort of program and get more players in. Now that you say that, that's so obvious, but so hard to do.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, you remember you worked at the club that I was home for so many years, the Maverick Club in Arlington. And that club got had 10 courts. Had 10 courts, good time racquetball club. The owner, finally, he was old, he had to sell it. There's 1 court left. And that's the issue, you know. But even at the Maverick, you know, there are primetime hours, but most of the time there's nobody playing. And that's an issue. And I don't know what to do about that issue, but that's an issue. What we've got to do, what we can, I know what we can do. We can get as many juniors playing as possible, because the rest of us are either dying off or unfortunately going to pickleball, which I'm not.
Nor am I.
Yeah, and so that's what we need to do. We need to get people playing. We need, and that's why we're investing money as much as we have to getting help and getting junior programs in places that have courts. And, you know, when you do junior programs, you need 3 things. You need courts, you need coaches, you need kids. I call it the 3 Ks.
I like that.
Yeah, it's not really K, but, and so, you know, there's so much to do to try. We have a really tough road. It may or may not happen. We may 5 years from now, it may be much, much worse than it is right now. But we've got to try. I have, I mean, you might ask why I'm leaving. You didn't ask why I'm leaving.
Oh, I'm going to get to that, but go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, let's save that for the end. Before I forget though, and we won't forget to ask that question, I want to fire off some questions because there's a lot of people.
Fire them off. Let's take that quick 30-second break.
Let's do that.
Let's do
When
that.
we come back,
We're going to get these questions ready.
scroll down the comments and we're going to ask Mike all these questions. We'll be right back in 1 minute. All right, welcome back, everybody. If you're just tuning in, thank you for joining us this morning. We're here at the Frank Hotel's IRF World Senior Racquetball Championships presented by the NMRA, and we're having a nice sit-down interview with the USA Racquetball Executive Director, Mike Grisz. You can always go back and rewatch this and listen to anything that you missed, but Mike, we want to get into this part. We've had a lot of people log in and ask some questions, so I want to just jump right in here and just start firing off some questions.
Okay.
Somebody had asked earlier, I can't seem to find it, but it asked about what is the USAR plan when some of these donors that have been donating and may start experiencing donor fatigue and start treading water. What is your response to that?
One of the things that I have worked extremely hard to do and hopefully have been moderately successful is to build up relationships with a lot of those people. Despite that, I mean, donor fatigue, trust me, I mean, Karen and I have given a lot of money to the organization, and I'm experiencing that myself. And what you do is you try to have successes. You try to get people's perception of the organization to be better and better. We've been successful in terms of we've stabilized membership, we've stabilized finances, and we've got increased participation in events. But we got a long way to go. I mean, you know, there's so much to do. I don't know if that's a good answer to your question, but the answer is to maintain those relationships. I think stewardship is something that we can always do better.
I guess the follow-up on that is, why should we donate? Why should we continue to donate?
Because we want a racquetball community. You want this organization to succeed. If USA Racquetball closes its doors, what are you going to do? There's no U.S. teams anymore. Who's going to run the national events? You can say, well, we'll get somebody else to run the national events. Well, good luck. Okay. I mean, you have the organization set up to do that. If
Sure.
you want different things done in the organization, by the way, and you're listening to this, call me, email me, get involved. You know how many calls and emails I get? Minimal. From the membership on things, and
On helping. Everybody has a solution, but nobody helps.
Nobody helps,
Yeah.
and a lot of times.
Welcome to the internet.
Well, and people will give me an idea, and a lot of times my response is, "That's great. It's a great idea. How will you help me implement that idea?"
What are you doing?
You know, and
Why are you leaving? Why are you leaving as executive director?
at the end of the year, it'll be 2 years and 3 months. I will be 68 years old. I'm in perfect health. But I mean, it's an extremely pressure-packed job. I was happily retired before I took this on. I was taking this on through the end of 23. It was easy to see towards the end of 23 that there was no successor out there. So I've been pretty clear that the end of '24 is where I need to step aside. I'm not going to do this forever.
Why?
Because I'm tired. I mean, it's a pressure-packed environment, and there's other things I want to do. I was, like I said, and it's selfish. I had a lot of hobbies, and I had to give them up. You wake up, and I wake up at 2 and 3 in the morning, and I'm thinking about the things that I have to do the next day for USA Racquetball. And
you could be retired. You are retired, but you're putting all your time in. Your wife, you're putting money in. What are you doing?
And my wife, who probably just about everybody on this call knows or watches this, is a wonderful human being. And
Indeed.
And I'm looking at her right now, and she has been extremely involved. Hopefully, she will be involved on a going forward basis, but she doesn't want me to do this full time. She knows the stress of it.
What has she done on that day to day? You know, you talking
Come
about
sit.
Tournament help.
Come sit. You're live. Just sit.
Service, working with directors.
I mean, Karen has.
This is Karen, everyone.
Yeah, everybody knows Karen. Say hi.
Hi.
I got it.
What Karen has done is, in the prior administration, and before I come on, we had a huge backlog of issues with SafeSport, with R2, with just customer service. And between Karen, who is the mastermind of SafeSport, which is a huge labyrinth, as you all know, she's taken care of that. We've just finished the second SafeSport audit we've been through. We come through with flying colors. If anybody has problems with R2, which there has been one or two, Karen is there and is responsive. People now, if there's an issue with that has an issue with USA Racquetball, if you call Jonathan, you call Karen, you call me, it gets resolved in a day, if it can be.
Karen, well, welcome. But
Thank you.
what's this been like for you? You know, it's a stressful position. I know how much time you and Mike and money put into this, and Mike has told us he's leaving and resigning here at the end of the year, which means you're also resigning.
Maybe not.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah, tell us a couple things. Number one, what has it been like for you? The good, the bad, the ugly, and then what you plan on doing moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think we stepped in, especially Mike, but me in the background a little bit. I've stepped in at a time when there was kind of a crisis and they needed help, and we both have been in the world of racquetball for our entire adult lives, and Mike even before he was an adult. And I mean, I've been running tournaments at the state and local and national level for 20 plus years. And been involved on various boards as well. So, we both have always been involved in the organizational side of racquetball, and this was an opportunity to do this even more and try to fix some things and try to help grow the sport. And that's what that was what we've tried to do. I'm sure as Mike has been saying, I've been listening from my computer in the other room. It's a very stressful job. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that people just don't really know about, don't understand, and that's fine. I mean, he knew that he knew some of it taking it on. I think some of it we came in sort of blind and said, oh, we have to deal with these other 20 things that we didn't really know about. But that happens in any organization. But I mean, I hope that people feel like it's been a positive 2 years for USA Racquetball. We tackle the things that we can tackle. We try to start moving things forward where we can, and so I think it's been hopefully a very positive 2 years for the things that we've been doing, and it's time for Mike to just kind of get his life back a little bit, and that helps me get my life back a little bit too with him, which I appreciate. But I'll have some role, probably somewhat I'm assuming if they want me to do some of the things that I'm continuing to do now, like that I'm doing now. It doesn't take nearly as much of my time as what Mike is doing. So.
You mentioned that you're heavily involved in the safe sport, but can you tell the people that are watching how important it is with safe sport involvement?
Yeah, safe sport is a broader thing. It's a part of us being a part of the USOPC, part of being in things like the Pan Am Games, being part of that organizational structure that pretty much every other sport in the country is as well. To be able to say that we are part of that organization is huge for the sport of racquetball. It gives it recognition. It gives us, some clout. It gives us access to the Pan Am Games and the park and various things like that our top athletes want to play in. And it just gives us a structure, and it gives us
It protects us, right? Safe sport.
It protects us. It protects our athletes. I know Mike's been talking about how we're trying to grow the sport. We want more kids involved. We want things like that. The whole safe sport thing, as you probably all know, came up because a lot of the Olympic problems that they had in things like gymnastics and some other sports years ago.
Exactly.
To try to protect the athletes. And it's very important to have a safe environment for everybody to play. So, it's just one of those things that you want that to be in place to help give the legitimacy to the sport, to give that, the safetyness for the sport for all players.
Nice.
So.
Well, we're going to come to an end here. I know Simone's in our ear, and you guys have a lot to do. I want to say personally thank you to both of you. I know how much time, how much energy, how much money you actually put in that a lot of people don't know. And I am privy sometimes, not because of you by any means, Leo as well. There were a lot of problems when you came into USA Racquetball, and I can confidently say that USA Racquetball is in a better position because of you two, in my personal opinion. So thank you for all that time and all that energy and effort, and it's not easy. Hopefully USA Racquetball will come up with a successor for you or a plan.
It's being worked on. Again, it may be a group, because it's tough. And I'm not saying I'm irreplaceable, by no means not, but I do
Is
have.
he irreplaceable, Karen?
To me, he is.
But it does take the time, the passion, and the knowledge, to do this. And unfortunately, for most people, the time issue is the biggest thing, to get somebody that can do this with no compensation. If we could pay somebody compensation, I'm sure we'd have a few people to apply, but we're not in that position now. And frankly, I don't think we'll be in that position for a couple of years.
But it can be done though, right, Grisz? Because I'm just, you said earlier it was hard to duplicate what Doug did. It was hard to find another venue. Is it going to be hard to find another Mike and Karen? Can it be done?
Yeah, it can be done. There are smart people out there. Yes, it can be done. It will be done. It has to be done. And I'm not going to turn my back and walk away, but I'm not going to spend 50 hours a week anymore. Okay, I need to kind of move on. But I'll pick and choose. Karen will still probably be involved with Safe Sport and R2, things like that. Those are things that are fine. We can do that. I'm willing to spend 5 or 10 hours a week. I'm not willing to spend 50 a week on a going forward basis after January 1. But I'm full bore until December 31st. And whether that means working with the successor or successors or just doing the job that I'm doing, there's a million things that I got to do. There's a big list I have. And I'm going to get going on it as soon as we get back tomorrow.
Yeah, go ahead. Before we go, I want to let each one of you, I don't want to say parting words, but anybody that you would like to recognize and thank, and also for the first time since 1996, we're going to be in San Antonio, Texas, cheering on our team USA athletes. So talk a little bit about the World Championships and then close this out.
Yeah. This was a big risk of mine to take on the IRF Worlds. And it's funny because it all started because Sudsy called me probably last December and said, we need to do this. And I thought about it and I said, we need to do that. And I got it through the board. So you can thank Sudsy, you can thank me to have the IRF World Championships in San Antonio. Sandy Rios, who's on our board, is running point there. You asked me to thank people in racquetball. I thank Sandy Rios. I thank Cheryl Kirk, who has somewhat of, she has done stellar work for us. And sometimes I think she has a reputation that is very undeserved. So, I can't thank Cheryl enough on things. There are I mean, a bunch of other people to thank, but
I can help a little bit, so.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I can help a little bit. I mean, we have a lot of people who are kind of behind the scenes supporters as well that have touched base, including Sudsy and you, Leo, for helping with the IRF Worlds in San Antonio. That's amazing. It's going to be so much fun. But we have, people who have supported us, Keith Miner and Gutterman and Team Dovetail and, just a variety of people who have helped us. Andy Gomar and has been a big supporter, and Head Pen, of course, Fran Davis and Head Pen and Gearbox have been big supporters, and people have helped the juniors like the WIS. Inc. have been really supportive over the years. So, anybody who has been willing to step up that way has been, a great contributors to us as well.
And there's been a number of other people that have contributed over time, and I appreciate that. I mean, we're all in this, and this is our community, and our community needs to stay together and stand behind USA Racquetball. If you don't like something or you want to see something, communicate with us. You think that I have an agenda that is contrary to the wishes of the general population of USA Racquetball? And the answer is no. All I want is for racquetball to be successful. All four of us in this room all want racquetball to be successful. So, okay, help us make it a success. And I bleed USA Racquetball. And I've been honored to be the executive director of USA Racquetball. And, it's hard to say I love this job. It's kind of a job that I appreciate the opportunity I've had to do. It's a very hard job. But whoever succeeds me, whatever happens, everybody has to be on board and make this organization a success. Because if the organization is a success, that makes racquetball have a much better chance of success as well. End of sermon.
Well, yeah,
Well
said, Mike. I mean, I'll let you close out, Leo. But again, thank you. Mike's not hard to find. There's a lot of people out there that, they're not transparent or they're not going to answer questions. If you have questions, put it right here in the chat. Message me, email me. I'll send it to Mike, directly to Mike. He's not afraid to ask. He said, yeah, I'm going to sit down. And he said, ask me whatever you want. So, we understand it's hard. Obviously, there's a lot of misinformation, or there's misinformed and uninformed, I feel. And we see that in today's day and age and forever now with the internet. And, ask Mike, whatever it is. We have him here till December 31st. We don't know exactly yet who's going to be taking over USA Racquetball, but there's a lot of valid points. It's not all negative that we see on the internet or in groups and whatnot. But yeah, if you could help and you have an idea, let us know and we'll do that. So
yeah, I'll answer any of the questions in the chat box if there's a way I can contact those people. I'm happy to do it. And okay.
Great.
Leo?
Thanks for taking the time. Mike, congratulations. You had a great run, man. Fantastic job. You and Miss Grisz. What's 5 more months? But thanks for sitting down with us today. I hope people will go back and watch this and take something good from it, because that's what we're here for. So, Miss Grisz, thank you, and we'll see you guys soon.